Most online coaches stuck at 20K per month think they need better marketing. They're wrong. You're not stuck because of clients. It's 3 invisible walls you don't even see. Listen, I was stuck at the same ceiling, 80-hour weeks, making 20K per month, and I was completely maxed out. Then I broke those walls and scaled to 100K a month whilst working 70% less. In this video, I'll show you exactly what those walls are and how to break them. Let's dive in. So before I jump into the invisible walls, I just want to talk about how the 20K per month mark becomes a trap for a lot of online coaches. I remember 20K per month was actually one of the worst times in my business career, right? I was jumping on sales calls, I was doing LinkedIn posts, I was reviewing Instagram stories, I was reviewing Instagram Reels, I was coaching students one-on-one, I was coaching students through DMs, I was coaching students through group calls, and honestly, I was pretty much doing anything and everything, and it was driving me crazy. So I remember last year in February, I was making around 20K per month and I was feeling pretty exhausted, right? So I wanted to escape. I was living in London. I booked a flight to Lisbon just to work in Portugal for 2 weeks. And honestly, I booked a hotel in deep in the city where it's there's loads of people going out. It's super busy, super fun. And I remember I'd be stuck in the hotel 8 p.m. every day. I only went out properly to have an evening at 7 p.m. once, right? I remember one night I was in the lobby at 9 p.m. or so, and I literally was thinking to myself, I'm making all this money, but I feel trapped, and this literally feels like a job. The whole point of getting into business was freedom, and that's when I realized there must be a better way of doing business. So as soon as I returned to London 2 weeks later, my whole focus was on delegating every bit of the business. And I'm honestly very glad I went to that super stressful period, working till 8, 9 p.m. And bear in mind, I was starting work at 7 a.m. as well. So I was working 12, 13 hours. Honestly, so glad I went through that stressful period of working my ass off when I was in Lisbon, because a year and a half later now, it's crazy how everything has changed. I've delegated 100% of the operations in my business, generate 64K MRR, monthly recurring revenue, and I now spend less than 10 hours per week on my business, right? The rest of the time I'm dedicating to this, my YouTube channel, which I'm super passionate about, and I'm doing this because I love this and I want to do this, not because I have to. I really, really am passionate about talking about how to build a business that runs without you, and it is 100% possible. Honestly, I think this shift, it came from being mentored by Chris Donnelly. So Chris Donnelly got 3 million followers across all platforms. He's huge on LinkedIn, 1.2 or 3 million. He's a mega British entrepreneur, sold a company for 30 million at age 31. He also runs an info business that does around $10 million per year in revenue. And his whole mindset was to build systems and delegate those systems ASAP to the people he'd hire. Ethos was that the job of an early stage founder or entrepreneur is to build a system and delegate, instead of running and doing the system and doing the work themselves, right? And I remember I paid $6,000 for his course and I only got group calls. It was 100% worth it because I used to WhatsApp him. And I remember on a call as well, he said, whatever goal I have, I think to myself, how do I build a system so I can achieve this goal effortlessly? And that is the ethos that I've had. How do I build a system so that I move forward towards this goal? And that's how you need to think of business. Now that you understand, a huge reason why I built systems and focused on delegation was because of the pain I went through working 80-hour weeks. And I'm pretty sure you're going through that now. Now, let's talk about the 3 walls that are keeping you stuck. The first wall is the nobody can do it like me trap. Every first-time founder, entrepreneur I speak to has had this limiting belief that no one can do work like them. And honestly, this is the worst belief you can have, because this is literally the belief that's stopping you from hiring and delegating. I've spoken to so many online coaches and I asked them wait, what's your day looking like tomorrow? And they're like, oh yeah, I've got a sales call at 11 a.m. I've got a sales call at 2 p.m. Another one at 4 p.m. Maybe another one at 6 p.m. Well, you've got 4 hours of sales calls the whole day. And when I asked them why haven't you hired a closer yet? And almost always their response is, yeah, but they never close like me. I close at a 60-70% close rate. And they're proud of that, which is absolutely insane, right? You need to understand that even if you hire a closer and they close at 30% rate, remember, they're closing at a 30% rate and it's costing you 0 hours. Versus you closing 70% of calls, it's costing you the time to close those people. So if you hire a closer, the real cost is not, the decrease in close rate. The real cost is your time. You don't get back your time. And then you can't focus on the real high leverage tasks, such as revamping your content, running ads, thinking of efficient ways to systemize your delivery and get your clients results. You can't, right? If you're stuck in sales calls, right? So you need to get rid of the nobody can do it like me trap. I know it's not easy. Delegating can be scary. And I'm pretty sure maybe you hired someone and they did a crap job and that just left a bad taste in your mouth. But remember, when I got my first coach in, I micromanaged micromanaged him so much, he eventually quit. It was a terrible experience, right? I was so insecure. Like, your first hires are meant to be bad. It's like business. Like, first you get good at the skill of coaching, then you get good at marketing, then you get good at sales, you hit 10, 20K a month. Now, to scale further, you need to get good at hiring and training people up, right? It's a completely different skill set. But you need that skill to scale. You cannot scale if you cannot hire and delegate. Like, I will say that a million times. The truth is, if you just do a decent job at documenting what you do, they're very likely to do the job 80% as good as you. Whoever you hire, they're never going to do a job as good as you. You're the founder, right? Like, you really care about, it's like your baby, right? But if they can do a job that's 80% as good with solid training and consistent accountability, they can get to 90 or 95% of what you would have delivered in 3 to 6 months, right? That's all you need, right? Remember, you're giving up, like, let's say 10% in quality to get back 20 hours, 15 hours a week, depending on if it's sales or coaching, whatever you're involved in. That is so valuable. You could use that time to literally double your revenue in like a few weeks. And then with that extra money, you can hire more people. But you need to delegate. You need to be comfortable with people messing up and not doing a perfect job, and then supporting them with that. It's just like posting content, right? Like, when you posted the first 20 videos, they're probably shit. And now look at you. You're doing 10, 20K months. You're getting tens of thousands of views in your content. You're getting so many calls booked, right? It's the same with like hiring and delegation, right? You just need to get comfortable with hiring the wrong people, maybe not training them up properly, them failing, and you also failing at training them up, and then eventually you getting better. But you have to get good at this skill. This is a non-negotiable. You cannot be the nobody can do it like me founder, because you're never going to scale. And also, like, if you've been in a case where you've hired people before and they've been really, really bad, where it just like destroyed your experience, honestly, it's probably because you hired the first person that had a pulse. They said they want to work for you and you just hired them. That's where you went wrong. You need to understand, hiring is like a sales funnel, right? You need a lot of people at the top of the funnel. You move them through the interview process, which is kind of like the sales process, and you pick the best at the end. That's how you minimize your risk. If you hire the first person that applies, they're never going to be great. You need to have a sample. You need to have data. You need to be looking at how 6, 7 people perform across the same interview questions to see, because the winners always win. The winners will always come on the top, right? So whenever I hire for a job, I always target minimum 100 applicants. If I don't get 100 applicants, I'm not going to hire. And even then, you can hire shit people. But if you just hire the first person that applies, good luck. You're never, ever going to get like a solid team member, and that's going to help you buy back your time. Now, the second wall is the delivery trap. What I mean by the delivery trap is basically online coaches get very good at marketing and then creating urgency for their programs and then also selling, but when it comes to delivery, they're kind of trapped in the sense that it's very manual, it's very hands-on. And since they're focusing all of their efforts on systemizing sales and marketing, the quality goes down because like delivery is very, very manual, and they keep adding more people onto the program. And then with each additional person that joins the program, they get less and less time of the person they signed up for. And there's no systems that you online coaches actually have built to support clients without the input of the founder. And basically what happens is over time, clients don't get consistent results. They don't renew, they don't refer, and then there's just a damaged reputation about you in the market, like absolutely like working against you. It's killing your growth, right? But you need to understand that over time, more people join, less of the people compared to like earlier get results, which means now you're even more reliant on marketing, but now you also have this bad word of mouth, right? That's going for you. So now you have two negative forces against you. You need more marketing, and then you have bad word of mouth bringing you down, right? And eventually your offer just dies. What coaches say is, oh, the market got saturated or the ads got expensive. No, the truth is the market was never saturated and ads still work. You just stopped the reason you started the coaching business. You stopped doing that, which was to help people achieve a certain outcome. You're promising people that they can lose 20 kilos of weight in 6 months. You need to deliver that, or deliver at least a good outcome, right? If they join and they lose no weight and they have no impact on their life, people are going to talk, right? The world is small and word spread. So make sure that when you're systemizing stuff in your business, you don't forget about systemizing service delivery. That's going to be a bottleneck, especially for scaling and growing fast. And now if you're wondering, but Farun, how do I actually systemize service delivery? There's so many different ways. Right now in my business in the UK Job Institute, you have onboarding forms, you have check-in forms. In my high-ticket business last year, where I did multiple 100K months, we had like systems for everything. Onboarding forms, check-in forms, literally call structures, like for the calls they had. We had cheat sheets, Loom videos, we had PDF tutorials, and basically these are just like replacing you, right? And they're buying back your time. This way, people can go through resources in their own time so that they're not reliant on you. And then you can like basically focus on delivering more value to them through group sessions or through posts in the community. You might think, oh no, they want a one-on-one with me. Like clients don't mind. As long as they have a problem, you send them a solution and they get the information in a consumable way, they're happy. That is pretty much it. You need to systemize service delivery or your business is a ticking time bomb. Now, the third wall is the help everyone trap. What I mean by that is an online coach who basically closes anyone with a pulse, right? And they don't have their ideal customer nailed down. And I've also seen this as well, a common theme around coaches who are stuck at 20K per month and never go past it. They basically help anyone and everyone. They're not specific on who they help. Like this one coach I spoke to had an offer that helped people lose 20 pounds in 6 months. On the outside, it seems like a specific offer, right? But remember, they didn't define, is it a busy professional? Is it a mom? Is it a young kid? Is it a teenager, right? So you need to define the person as well as the outcome, right? Otherwise, if you haven't defined the person, you will close the wrong people who don't get results. And then you'll have to spend more time with them trying to help them get the results. Basically, they don't get results and you get negative word of mouth, which is just terrible for your business. It's just so much easier to spend some time up front to narrowly define your ideal customer, because then it's easier to find them. You also get results, and then boom, you get word of mouth referrals. And if you're wondering what happens if I can just like close everyone and make as much money, you might make some more money in the short term, but the long term you're going to fail. You don't narrow down your customer. You can't standardize cheat sheets and processes and Loom videos and systems that help your clients get results. And then you have to build the delivery from scratch for every client. You need to understand that, remember, saying no to customers is a good thing. Because if you're saying no to some people who want to join your program, who aren't a fit, it's actually a yes to a greater good, which is tracking and supporting only your dream ideal customer. I remember when I defined my ideal customer in my niche, which was international students looking for 30K plus UK jobs in less than 90 days, I basically had to turn down students from Ireland, and still to this day, they reach out to me, students from Ireland, Belgium, Canada, US, because I've learned that in business, you have to leave money on the table in the short term to make more money in the long term. You need to delay gratification to get the long-term big outcome, right? Most coaches are so desperate for money, they just want to close the next 20, 30K a month, that they'll just close anyone with a pulse, right? And then their businesses die in a year. So you need to have a long-term mindset, right? And to not get into the help everyone trap. And I actually even further niched down earlier this year, right? I remember we basically were struggling to keep sales up. We realized that there's many more players popping on the market. So we even hyper niched down to the point where now if you look at my LinkedIn, it literally has the India, Pakistan, Bangladesh flag, right? So now we've niched down to international students looking for 30K plus jobs who are from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, who are basically have urgency to get a job, right? So super specific. Not just that, another layer of niching down on our DM script where we close them, we literally have a list of jobs we don't help with. So if these people are looking for healthcare jobs, some other like lab-based jobs, we say, no, we can't help you because we haven't proven to get results in those niches, right? So that's how specific we are. We're specific on like the people, the jobs they're going for. We're also specific on where they're from as well. It's so crazy. Like the more specific you get, it does seem like shit, it's going to be harder. Yes, it's going to be hard in the short term, but once you figure out how to attract them, it's going to be like clockwork to not only close them, but also get them results. And the more results you get, the easier the future closes are. Think of that for a second, because it's really going to help you. And listen, I've done 5 back-to-back 100K months last year. And there's no way in hell I would have done those 100K months if I hadn't very clearly defined my ideal customer. Make sure you define your ICP. By the way, if you're a coach or agency owner stuck at 5 to 20K per month and you want to scale to 100K months whilst removing yourself from operations, I'm launching a 180-day program where I personally install the systems, team, and content engine to make that happen. Click the first link in the description to join the waitlist. Okay, now let's get back to the video. Now that you know the 3 walls keeping you stuck at 20K per month, let's talk about the 3 systems you can use today to break through. Let's start with the first system, which is the delegation framework. The delegation framework, in very simple terms, is just a fancy word for recruiting and training. That's it. It's getting other people in your business to do work that you would have done or someone else would have done. You can delegate a lot of things in your business, but what I recommend and what's worked for me is delegating tasks within marketing, because this is the most important part of your business. Without marketing, you don't have leads. Without leads, you don't sell. Without selling, you're not making money. You're not in business. So the way I actually delegated marketing was I just built a bank, so a list of all the SOPs and hooks and CTAs, so all the systems, the tools needed to go viral on LinkedIn, and I put that on like Google Docs. And then I hired my younger brother, right? And I said, here's all the hooks and CTAs and like processes I use to go viral on LinkedIn on this niche. Just do the same on Instagram. So I knew he was interested in Instagram, and within 1 month we doubled our lead flow. That's how simple it was. So if you're on one platform right now, let's say you're dominating on Instagram, you can literally take those proven hooks, proven CTAs, and go to another platform like Twitter or LinkedIn or even TikTok, right? Or even YouTube. And that's a pretty easy win. Pretty easy win, because you already got data on like what do people actually click on, what do the people actually comment on. It's super important, right? So now you're wondering, okay, Farun, but like, okay, I know what to delegate. How do I hire people? Well, listen, at the start, I recommend hiring for attitude over skills. Because listen, you're not going to get the A players, the best of the best, apply for you, right? Because you're at 20K a month. Not that that's a small number, but they want to work for entrepreneurs who are more successful or where they can see more growth. There's no one to judge, because I'm still not at that level, right? I'm still getting people in and turning them into A players. But basically, that's what I did, right? So I've done 1.5 million in revenue, and like I didn't get people who were polished high off the bat. Like I had to train them up. But since they were coachable and they had the right attitude, I've generated over 1.5 million purely hiring people with the right attitude. Now I've got some success, I've got some following, and I've got some proof. Now I can wait on both attitude and skills, right? But at the start, I would say just go for attitude. As long as they're not stupid and they have some skills, if they have the right attitude, you can train them up. That's pretty much what it is. My younger brother, my best friend, all of them had purely just right attitude and they crushed. And also you need to understand that to get someone with a great attitude who's not very skilled, even to get someone with the right attitude, you need a lot of applications. Like a lot of you guys, online coaches, you just hire the first person, the friend you knew or your cousin in your business. And that's wrong. You need to get a fair amount of applications. But when I was hiring for the Instagram manager role, like I had other applicants as well. My brother was still good. Like he wasn't the best, but he was still good. But on attitude, he came out the best. You need to be getting enough applications in, and I recommend a minimum of 50. I right now go for a minimum of 100 applications that come in for any job I hire for. Otherwise, you will waste a lot of time, energy, and money training up a terrible person, and that will give you trauma for quite a while. So I highly recommend even screening pretty ruthlessly for people with the right attitude. Like give them feedback on a call, see if they're coachable, see if they get offended. If they can take feedback on well, they're probably going to do well. Just the last thing on delegation before I move on. Like delegation is two-part, right? It's recruiting, then it's training people up. And training is all about just building rock solid SOPs, which are super simple. Charlie Morgan says this, an SOP needs to be so simple a 6-year-old can go in and read them and understand them, right? Let's actually jump into my computer right now. Let me show you an SOP that I have that I've built for a LinkedIn delegation plan, which is basically like a fancy way of saying anyone that wants to onboard into my team and write LinkedIn content for me, they can go through that SOP, understand it, and start writing content in an hour. So let's jump into my computer right now. I'll show it to you. So I created this a few months ago. It's called LinkedIn Post Delegation Plan. I actually started with the LinkedIn Masterclass. So I started with principles of a successful LinkedIn post. I linked a masterclass I recorded for my friends community, and I just talk about like how to do well on LinkedIn. I even explain then that the two most important pieces of a LinkedIn post, the hook and the image. Then I also explain the mindset, which is 80% of your efforts should be going toward optimizing the hook and the image. I give them some tools on how to find hooks. I also give them some tools on how to find images with some examples of my successful posts. And then I give them the types of different posts with examples and then a step-by-step plan. You start with the hook, you finalize the hook, you finalize the image, and then you write the rest of the post. Like very simple stuff. I gave this exact plan to Laiba, and like she understood everything in like basically a day. Like she just read it and she's like, yeah, cool, I have some questions, answered them, and then boom, she's done. If you make training people so simple, you put everything in your brain onto a document, it's not going to be that hard. Because remember, if you're just training everyone up in person or on call, on a Zoom call, they're not going to be able to digest it. But if they do it in their own time, you give them space, you say, come to me with any questions, it's just such a much better experience. And it's sufficient for you because you save yourself time. So like you can literally, if you want the link to this, just comment down below and I'll send you over the link and you can just copy this. But like very simple, you want SOPs or like documentation where anyone could read it and understand whatever the task is and within like 30 minutes, 1 hour, and you're solid, right? So this is kind of an example. And I even give like next steps as well to her, and then we just crossed them out, you know? So hope you found this valuable, and let's go back to my main screen. Now moving on to the second system, the service delivery system. This is just a fancy way of saying you need to document how to support clients to achieve a certain outcome. Let me actually show you how we mapped out our service delivery for the high ticket I sold, and I did like 500,000 in 5 months. It was called the Accelerator 2.0 last year. So we have to jump back into my screen and I'll show you how I mapped it out on a Miro board. So let's go back into my screen. So I just created a visual breakdown of the process, right? So it's called Accelerator 2.0, and I broke it down from like the closing call. Then we have an SOP script here for the closing call. As you can see, boom, went from a closing call to then onboarding. Right? We have onboarding steps here. We follow steps. Like this is in between when they're closed and their welcome call, which is the first call. We have an SOP here. As you can see, SOP documented for step by step how to create student folders, how to like build their backend like systems so that they can start to get results quick. Then we had a welcome call. We literally had a word for word script. This is how autistic we were about systems. Word for word script for what my customer service managers were saying on the calls. Next, we had an SOP for, because we do their CVs, we do their cover letters. We had an SOP to follow to create their CV with some resources as well. And then we had a first execution call. And what we learned also is that obviously it depends on the nature of your client. If you're doing B2B or selling to entrepreneurs, you don't need to have execution calls and get them to execute on the calls. But what we learned is because we're dealing with university graduates, they are not that good action takers. So we got them to execute live on the call. So we just broke down exactly how to structure these calls on SOP documents. It just removes the margin of error so much, right? And it just makes it into such a repeatable, smooth process. And we even mapped out by days. By day 9, this is the milestone. By day 11, this is the milestone. By day 33, they get all these emails. And we even had like SOPs for like backend as well. This is how we mapped it out. It's nothing fancy. This is how you can visualize it. First, you put on a document, but then it was a bit confusing. So we put it on a Miro board. So that's how we did it. If you have like a fitness coaching program, you just map out like, okay, week 1, you're going to get this. Week 2, you're going to work on these exercises. Week 3, you're going to have lost this many pounds or whatever, with like exact scripts for like what you're going to say on the calls to check up with them. And if they haven't done a certain thing, fill out this form, you know, very like detailed step like that is really how you build a robust delivery system. And that's how you can maintain, let's say you have 10 clients you close a month. If 4 of them are being coached by not you, and 6 of them are being coached by you, then the 4 who aren't coached by you, the coach can just follow this, right? And then they're probably going to do a job that's 90% of good, right? If you just document everything you do on a Miro board or some like paper, if that makes sense. With my coaches as well, I'd send them the recordings of my coaching calls as well, so they'd watch it and see how I handle the students. Because they're never going to be the same level as you because you're the founder. Because you really give a shit, right? They don't, right? Because they're employees. You just need to understand that. It's just true. That's pretty much what it is. Hope you find this valuable. If you want the link, comment below. I'll send you the link as well. So let's drive back into our main screen and I'll continue the rest of the video. Okay, another thing to notice as well is, as you saw from the Miro board, is we offered an onboarding call. And basically what we saw is customer satisfaction went really up significantly after including onboarding calls. If people don't get like within 40 hours or 3 days some sort of onboarding, they feel very lost. You're going to see as well, you're going to have to tailor your program to your market, see what competitors are doing and see what people say great things about, like when you ask them for feedback about your program, and just make sure you do more of that. Another thing I mentioned, we saw students weren't doing the work, so we get them to do the work live on the calls, and this way we get the ball rolling for them as well, right? Remember, it really depends on what program you're selling. If it's weight loss, you're going to have to figure out a way, I don't know, maybe they have a check-in, they need to send you a picture every morning of their weight or something. And even if you don't check the forms, just the act of them doing it will get them to think about their weight, you know? I'm just thinking out loud. So maybe you could try that as well. The third system to help you break those invisible walls is the content system. What a content system is a fancy way of saying having clarity on your ideal customer. And then once you have clarity on who you're looking to attract, then having a cadence, which is basically a structured process of attracting that ideal customer consistently. So the cadence in my business, which is the UK Job Institute, which generates around 65K per month, is 5 content pieces per day. 4 of these are on Instagram, so 2 of them Instagram Reels and 2 Instagram Stories, and then 1 LinkedIn post every day. A lot of coaches understand that consistency with content is important, but they don't understand that fully, right? You first need to define your customer, then post content consistently. If you're posting content consistently for anyone and everyone, and it's about random topics, you will not solve the inconsistent lead for a problem. And if you go to my Instagram right now and scroll through my reels, they're only about how to get a job in the UK as an international student in less than 90 days. And we specifically target Indians, Pakistanis, Bengalis. That's all we talk about. That's all I talk about. That's all we target on my Faroon_Asim, like my Get a Job channel. So it's very important to be consistent about the right topics that attract your ICP. If you talk about random stuff, they're not really going to care. Unless obviously you're Logan Paul or Hormozi, you're like huge like that. That's when you've got celebrity status. But the truth is, you probably have under 20,000, 10,000, maybe 30,000 followers. They don't really care about me or you. They just care about getting them the outcome. So just stick to talking about getting them the outcome till you get like hundreds of thousands of followers. That's my opinion. Let's talk about the changes you will see. You will break the dreaded 20K per month mark. But more importantly, you'll actually scale revenue without increasing your hours. And this is because you'll have delegated, you'll have a system for service delivery, and then lastly, you'll have a content system that consistently attracts your ICP. And listen, this is not some bullshit tactic I'm creating out of thin air. I've implemented these 3 systems, and now my business is 65K per month, and I work less than 10 hours per week, right? It sounds like a dream. Very, very painful, but it was 100% worth the pain. Since I've built rock solid systems, I only have to work 10 hours a week, and the rest of the time I can work on this, YouTube. What my passion is, talking about business and systems and helping people get out of operations of their business. I can work on what I want. As I said, work on my YouTube when I want. I work the hours of whichever country I'm in. When I was in Dubai, I was still working until 6, 7 p.m. I also choose who I want to work with, right? So I'm super selective on who I let into the team. Also, if I don't like someone in my community, the UK Job Institute, I kick them out, give them a refund. This is my business, right? Because I'm no longer the bottleneck of the business, right? It's so important. You right now as the founder, you are the reason. You are the reason you haven't hit 50, 100K months, because you are not hiring and delegating. You're not getting out of the business. You need to actively make an effort to get out of the business so it runs without you. That's a lot of information, but to summarize, if you're stuck at 20K per month, it's because you're trapped by the nobody can do it like me mindset. Then you're probably ignoring systemizing service delivery, and then you're also trying to help everyone instead of mastering one transformation, one ICP. And look, if you want me to walk you through installing these exact systems in your business over the next 20 days, click the first link in the description below and join the waitlist for my program, where you'll get fractional access to my team to set up these systems so you too can build a system that gives you freedom. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next video.